Hi guys, how are you? In this tutorial we will learn what is for loop and we will perform 10 basic projects to fully grasp the concept of for loop with respect to C++ language. And let's start. So what is for loop? For loop has three statements. Number one is the initialization statement, number two is the condition statement, and number three is the updation statement. In initialization statement, we declare the loop variable and initialize or assign its initial value. Then in second statement, which is the conditional statement, it is checked for every iteration. If it is true, then we proceed to execute the code inside the body of for loop, and if it is false, then we proceed without executing that loop body. And in the third statement, which is the updation statement, here we update our loop variables after every iterations, and then we move again to condition and check it for every iteration of the loop. हम सिंटैक्स को देखें फॉर लूप के, तो ये तीन स्टेटमेंट पर मुश्तमिल होता है, जैसा कि हमने पहले स्लाइड में डिस्कस किया है। जो पहला है इसका statement वो होती है initialization statement, and the second is the conditional statement, and number 3 is the updation statement. Then we have the body of the loop, and body of the loop is enclosed by curly brackets, whereas the statements are enclosed by the parentheses. If we look how code for loop works, and we start with initialization, and it is performed just once, and then we check the condition. If condition is our true, then we proceed to the statement, body statement of the for loop, and execute the code in the body of the loop. And if our condition is false, then we proceed further without executing our loop body. So in the third step, after executing our statement, we proceed to the updation step, and here we update our loop variables. And after updating our loop variables, we again move to our condition and check. If it is true now, then we again move and execute our statement which is present in the loop body. Here is our first project, which is to print the first 10 natural numbers. So here are written the three statements. In initialization statement, we have assigned and declared the loop variable I, which here is an integer and its value is 1. So it means that our output will start from the 1, and the condition is I should be less than or equal to 10. So whenever this condition will be true, our code will be executed, and when this condition becomes false, our loop will end. And in the updations, we have an increment which is represented by double plus sign. So I have written the basic syntax for the for loop, which consists of the three statements and the body of the loop. So we will modify these three statements and the body of the loop according to our first project. And here I have modified this thing as we have discussed in the previous slide. And in the cout, which is used to print the output, I have used and L, which is used to print our output on the next line for each output. So we try this program in the program is. Let's start. So first of all, we will open up our Google tab, and here we will write the program is C++ compiler, and we will select this first one, and click on it, and it will open up the interface of Programming C++ compiler, and we will enter the full screen, and here it is the basic code for C++, and we will modify this thing and make it more better. So we will delete this thing and make it the first line, and then we will use an extra code line, that is using namespace std, and after this we will cut out this thing, and there is no need to write this one. So this piece of code is the basic C++ code, and we will use this code in our next projects. And for writing the for loop, we will first of all write the basic for loop syntax, that is for here we have initialization, and then we have condition, and then we have completion. After this we have curly brackets, and in these curly brackets we write the piece of code. In generally this is cout loop variable. So this is the basic syntax for loop. So now we change this, we modify this according to need of our programs, our projects. So in our first project we have to print the first 10 natural numbers, so we will modify this. So as we have discussed in previous slides, we write this thing according to those slides. Write that I should be less than or equal to 10, and for operation we use an increment statement, and here it is. So after writing this we will write I as the loop variable, and now we will press the run button, and here we have an error. And what is the error? We have not declared this by writing the int, which shows that the data type of I is integer. So now we will execute again, and here it is our code. So but this is not visually appealing, so to make it more better we will write and so congratulations, this is our first project. Now we move to our next project. So our second project is printing the first 10 natural numbers in reverse order. So we will start from 10 and then 9, add 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here I have written the three statements of for loop, that are initialization and condition and updations, and I have modified these according to our project. Here I have declared the loop variable I and assigned it a value of 10. So this value will be printed at the start of the code, and we will start from this value 10. And the condition is our loop variable should be greater than or equal to 1. So for each iteration this condition is checked, and if this condition is true, our loop body or the piece of code in the loop will be printed. And in the updation I have written I minus minus, which show decrement. So for each iteration the value of loop variable is decreased by 1 unit. So let's try this in the Programming compiler. So I have opened this Programming C++ compiler, and here we will modify this piece of code to print the first 10 natural numbers in reverse order. For this we will start from the initialization statement, and instead of 1 we will start from 10, and the conditional statement is that I should be greater than 0, and in the updation statement we will use decrement instead of increment, and we will run this code, and here is the reverse order printed first 10 natural numbers. Our third example is printing the sum of first 10 natural numbers. Here, the three statements of for loop, that are initialization, condition, and updation, are exactly similar to our first example, that was printing the first 10 natural numbers. But the additional thing here is initializing a sum variable that acts as a container inside the for loop and stores the value of our loop variable after each iteration. And when our for loop is executed, we print its value by cout inside the main functions. So let's try this inside the program is. So I have opened up the program is C++ compiler, and here are first 10 natural numbers. So what we have to do is to sum up these numbers, and we initialize a variable named as sum that will be equal to 0, and in the for loop it will sum up each value of I, and when the for loop is executed we will print out the value of the total sum. So let's start. First of all, we will declare and assign it the value of 0, and in the for loop what this variable have to do is to sum up the loop variable in each iteration. So sum is equal to sum plus I, and when the loop is terminated we will print out our sum, and it will show the total sum of first 10 natural numbers, and here it is. Our fourth example is printing the sum of first n natural numbers. Here the modification is that we will declare a new variable n inside the main function along with the sum variable, and this new variable will be used for taking the user input, and then inside the for loop the conditional statement will be changed such that our loop variable I should be less than or equal to n variable. So let's try this in the programs. So for this we will firstly modify the statements of for loop, then we will take the input from the user. So firstly modifying the statements. So int I is equal to 1, and the conditional statement should be I should be less than or equal to n, and there must be increments in the value of I. And after this we will take input from the user. For this we will declare a new variable n, and take a value from the user. So enter the number, and redirect the value inputted from the user into the n, and now we can execute our code. Enter the number. So I am writing the first 10 natural numbers, and here it is the sum of first 10 natural numbers. We can make it more visually appealing by writing cout the sum first n natural numbers. 10, and here it is the result. Our fifth example is finding the factorial of the given number. It is almost similar to our fourth example, but the modification is that here you can see that our new variable is a factorial, is named as a factorial, and we assign it a value of 1 instead of 0. So let's start. So I have opened the Programme's compiler, and this is our previous code. So we have just modified the sum and write factorial in place of this. So here we write factorial equal to 1, and here in for loop we will also write factorial in place of sum and multiply it with the so here we also modify this thing, the sum of be replaced by the factorial of n is, and here we will replace sum by factorial again, and we will run this code, and it is asking for the number. So I want to find the factorial of 5 in, and here it is. This is the correct answer of factorial of 5 is. Our sixth example is almost similar to fifth one, but it must show an error message when a negative number is entered. So to deal with that negative numbers, we will use if and else statements. Let's try it in Programme's. So this is our previous code, and if I execute this thing again, it is asking again the number. So if I put a negative number, then it shows that the factorial of -5 is 1, which is not true. So to improve this thing, to deal with negative numbers, we can use if and else statement. For this thing, we will write if parenthesis n less than 0, means if n is negative, then print out enter the valid input. And in else statement we can write all this code. We will run this thing, and it is showing error, I think because of this one. So enter the number. Now if I enter -5, then it shows please enter the valid input, which means now we can deal with negative number using this code. Our seventh example is finding the sum of the digits of given number. In this example, the purpose of for loop is to continuously divide the number by 10 until it becomes 0, and when it becomes 0 our condition becomes false and the for loop is terminated. And here the rest of things are same. We initialize a variable n and a sum. Let's try it in the Programme's. So I have opened the program is compiler, and here we will modify this thing. Int sum is equal to 0, and we will proceed with int n cnn, and we will remove if and else statements. There is no need for these things, and there is no need of this bracket. And here in the for statements we will initialize without writing anything. There is no need to write the initialization statement, and we will write that I, instead of I we will state that in condition n should be greater than 0, or n should be not equal to 0, not equal to 0. And in the increment we will divide the number n with 10. Here we will write sum is equal to sum plus n modulo 10, and there is the factorial will be replaced by the sum of given number is, there is no need to write this thing, and here we will write again the sum and run the code. It asks for the number 156. The sum of given number is 12. Sum of digits of Our eighth example is finding the sum of first n even numbers. Here, our initialization statement is about initializing a loop variable I and assigning it a value of 0. And in each iteration, we increase the value of I by 2 and decrement the value of n. And when the condition n greater than 0 becomes false, our loop will end. And let's try this in the program is. So this is our previous code, and we have to modify a little bit to make it work for summing up the first n even numbers. So there is no need to modify this thing, and here in for loop, and we have to write the statements as we have discussed in our slide. So for the initialization statement, I will write int I is equal to 0, and for the condition statement n should be greater than 0, and we have two updation statements which are I plus equal to 2 and decrement in the value of n. And for the sum we can write that sum is equal to sum plus And here in cout we will modify this thing. The sum of the even numbers is, we will write sum here, and no need to write this thing now. We will run this code. It is asking for the number, so I want to sum the first 10 even numbers. The sum of an even number is 9. Our ninth example is similar to the eighth one, which is about finding the sum of first and odd numbers. Here we initialize our loop variable from 1, not from 0, and rest of the conditions are same. Let's try this. So this is our previous code, and we have to modify a bit in the statements of for loop to add up the odd numbers. For this we will change int I is equal to, we will start from the 1, and condition n greater than 0 is true in this case, and for I plus is equal to 2 and decrements in the value of n, and sum is equal to sum plus I, and here we will write the sum of odd number is, and everything will be same, and enter the number. So I want to add first 10 even numbers, odd numbers, sorry. So the sum of first 10 odd number is 100. So our 10th example is printing the multiplication table of a given number. So let's print the multiplication table in the program is. I have opened the program is compiler, and this is our previous code, but we will modify this code to print out the multiplication table of the given number. For this there is no need to write int sum is equal to 0. However, we will proceed with this thing and cout cin, and we will make changes to the input statements of the for loop, which are the initialization statement int I is equal to 1. We will make this remain similar, and in the conditional statement we will write that I should be less than equal to 10, and in the conditional statement we will write that increment I plus plus, and here we will write that cout I multiplied by, so we will use a string and we will add spaces here. I multiplied by n, sorry, we can say that n multiplied by I is equal to n into multiplied by I, and there is no need to write this thing. So I press run button, asking for the number, so I want to proceed 12, and here is the multiplication table of 12. So thanks for watching this tutorial. Please subscribe this channel.